Happy Halloween, everybody. Today we're going to be discussing an incredibly controversial topic, that being hybrid ball pythons. Hybridized animals of any kind can often invoke very strong emotions, but they do exist, and I think that regardless of how we all feel about them, they are really interesting, and it's something that we're going to be taking a look at today. And of course, it wouldn't be a Halloween special video if we didn't have a little bit of fun
Johnny!
along the way.
Johnny!
Never see the light of day.
And for one more honorable mention, this is a little bit controversial, but let me introduce you to the hybrid ball pythons. Yes, the mad scientist's Frankenstein snake. When you take two different species and merge them together. Hybrids are well, I lied. They're incredibly controversial. No one can agree on it, and it can get a little vicious. In the wild, there are some hybrids that do interbreed because they're so close to each other naturally that they just can. But with that being said, some of these animals would never naturally meet in the wild. Some of them are on completely different continents. But today we're going to show you the ball python hybrids. And it's important to note that it needs to be a python species for this to work. This is probably, and I mean this honestly, one of the hardest videos I needed to research because there's just not a lot of information, and people shout down or hide or censor sometimes on certain groups any discussion of it. But I did find some, at the very least, things that we can show you and that we can talk about. Starting off with one of the more famous ones, the Burmball python. There are more examples of this particular animal than I think any other ball python hybrids. But even with them, there's very little information about a lot of this, but the Burmese pythons get a bad rap. They are known for being invasive in the Everglades in Florida, but it's not their fault. Burms are actually fantastic large snakes, and in my opinion might be the most chill of them all because they're incredibly similar to ball pythons, at least in their mannerisms and their behavior. The first pairing of this, from what I could tell, was created by a man in Germany named Frank Kramer all the way back in 2007. Since then, it has come quite a way. Obviously, you can see a bunch of these Burmballs here. There are morphs because there are morphs of ball pythons, so you could easily get them into there. This almost looks like it's an inchy or lesser, and you can see it's probably about the max size a female, maybe a little thinner would get for a ball python, probably a little bit bigger. Obviously, these don't get as big as Burms, but they get much bigger than ball pythons. It's a snake that I think would be mostly viable. About 1 out of 5 from the research I could find are fertile. Not a whole bunch, but enough so that you could breed back certain pairings to each other. At least I think that's mostly with the females. The males are always good. I could be wrong because, again, it's just like information while I was looking into this was just being taken away or whatnot. But look at something like this. This is pretty incredible. This one here is an albino Burmball, and this might be one of the most incredible albinos I've ever seen. It is vibrant, it is contrasting incredibly well, it has a really cool, sleek, and awesome face, and I don't know how they produced this. There's somebody here saying that it was produced because Burmese and ball python albino morphs are even compatible. I couldn't say, because obviously if they weren't, then you would have to breed a, say, visual, albino, whichever, into this hybrid morph, and then take those babies and breed them together and hope to get the visual. That's kind of the same way, only you're doing it amongst species. And once you're doing that, you'd have to breed them together, right? The siblings, because there are no other Burmballs yet, at least not at the beginning when you're first doing that. So now you're dealing with species because you've created not a new species, but you've created something that wasn't. And again, you look at stuff like this, I mean, these are larger ones. Bob Clark worked with them a lot early in the days, but I'll show you what I'm talking about here. You click to try to go into these, and I just keep getting things like this. They're not maintained because the information is so old on a lot of these animals. However, when I'm going on Morph Market, you can see there is a hybrid category, but when you click, no results found. There are only ones that have already sold because they're just not created all that much. You can check out some of the Burmballs here. This is a possible specter green albino. I'm assuming that obviously comes from Burms. I don't work them. Cool pattern. And even these older videos, this is the most recent thing I could find. They're very interesting. I can see why this could work because they're the same. But the question you have to ask yourself is why? What's the purpose of it? Because a lot of people in this community consider themselves conservationists. And there's no reason to create this animal because it doesn't exist in the wild.
We know you took the files.
What?
The hybrid video. Where is it?
I don't know what you're talking about. What is going on?
Think back. When did all of this begin?
I was filming the first Halloween special. You know, I just don't know for sure if we should release that video. You know, the more I think about it, though, I think it would be a good idea for a video, regardless of any of the pushback.
They don't want to hear that. They don't want to know the truth.
No, you're right. They're not ready for the truth. Next up would be the blood ball. It's such a cool name. Probably one of my other favorite species of pythons that I don't keep are blood pythons. They're known for having a little bit of a cantankerous attitude, I guess, but I don't really think that they deserve it. The point of the matter is that if you've ever seen a blood python's pattern, wow, they are awesome. They have these amazingly crazy thick bodies. They are bigger than a ball python, but they're not as big as, say, what we just spoke about. So a hybrid might be something manageable for you. It might be something smaller than even a boa, but they're probably still going to be kind of a thick animal. We actually showed these off at our Schaumburg show in 2023. It's one of the things that gave me the idea to do this video, and seeing them in person is a whole different story. They have a really cool, unique look to them, and you can see here they even have the banana into this now. Just in general, there's so many different patterns and morphs that blood pythons have. So it is incredibly intriguing to think about where else could we go from here. Trying to find care requirements for these animals, if there is anything special about them, can always be a little tricky because the care requirements might be different from one species to the other, but now you've merged them into one thing. But I think that they're similar enough that this is something that could obviously thrive in the right conditions. But the blood ball is, in my opinion, of what we're going to show you today, probably the coolest one. If I ever were tempted, this would probably be the one that would make me want to do it the most, because I like blood pythons so darn much. Next up, the largest, most dangerous of all of the pythons, the reticulated python, called the Balltic. Now, of course, when I was searching this, I made the mistake of just typing Baltic, and I got the Baltic regions of the world. I also, however, had a large difficulty finding very much about this. With that said, there are forums on Morph Market as early as November of last year, where they confirmed that Nerd created the Baltic about a decade ago, or roughly, and there are pictures, but this is where maybe it gets a little weird. How big is this animal gonna get? I mean, retics get big, so could you possibly do this with a super dwarf and get something that's a little bit more manageable? There's no answers on any of this because this is all I could find. And they are interesting. They're really dark and they've got pretty unique head patterns and everything like that. They really look Frankenstein to me. They're odd, and certain pictures look less odd than others. Here, this looks like a ball python head kinda, and then it's just like, what on earth? There are certain things that are intriguing about it. I once heard Garrett Hartle say, I don't know if he still feels this way, but he said the morph he wishes he could put into retics was the clown. I mean, you are talking about a potentiality to get it in there, but it wouldn't be a retic anymore. It'd be the Baltic. Again, what does this animal's care look like? Retics, a lot of times, especially the larger ones, they should have a lot of room to climb, whereas ball pythons, while they have the potential and ability to climb, they are not as good of a climber as, say, a retic. I would imagine that you'd need to give this animal some sort of a semi-arboreal care, at least to a small extent. But maybe not. Maybe it needs to be to a large extent. But there's a ton of questions that I have about this animal, and they're questions I couldn't answer, but it is incredibly intriguing, no doubt.
We know you filmed the hybrid video, Ryan. You're just hiding it.
No, it's too controversial, okay? People are not ready for this. I don't want to upset anybody. Even Johnny said that it was a terrible idea.
Did he? Did Johnny say that?
I get that it's a little controversial,
but like,
it's something different.
I really don't think it's a good idea.
I kind of regret even suggesting it.
But why? It's an actually good idea. Yeah, but no one else is
Talking about this, I'm just...
good. Then we should be one of the first.
Johnny liked the idea?
Yes.
He liked the idea.
That's why you tried to silence him.
What? No. I found him like that. Next up would be the wall ball. This one might be the one that I found the least about. There was a thread that actually Chris Hardwick was on, and then there was this picture that came from World of Ball Pythons right here. It's a incredible pattern. If you've seen what a Woma python looks like, you can imagine that they would make something very cool. In terms of an aesthetic look, at least, it's probably one of the most incredible ones. They have these hints of like red kind of going throughout it. Here's another one here. This was the one with the thread. It is a pretty cool looking animal. It has this hint of rusty red throughout it. Woma pythons are known for their head, but the ball python, it seems, has conquered that. At first glance, I can tell this is not a ball python, but it does have that hint of almost like a doppelganger type look where it's just slightly off. Something I just can't put my finger on about it. The animal here just is just, I don't know what to call it. The other ones I could see certain things. It looked odd in some cases, but I could see both animals within it. This one, I first I want to say, yeah, it looks mostly like a ball python, but then there's just something about the face. I can't put my finger on it. That being said, it looks absolutely gorgeous. The pattern is absolutely phenomenal, and the flaming, the colors that go into this, it's top notch. It's really, really cool. But again, not a lot I could find beyond what you see right here. Next up would be the Carpall. It is a mixture of a carpet python and a ball python. Carpet pythons are known for having a very cantankerous attitude, but I have learned from personal experience that for the most part, this is typically while they're babies that they're very bitey and jumpy. As adults, with regular care and getting used to you, I've heard that they really do simmer down. With that said, again, not much out there. I found this one, which has a photo bucket watermark taking up more than 50% of the picture here. You know, it looks like actually, I didn't even see that there's a baby in there. But did find another old video 15 years ago from Garrett Hartle. This is the Carpall python. Does that mean if it goes through a tunnel, it's a carpal tunnel? But the thing about carpet pythons and ball pythons is carpet pythons are very much arboreal. Anytime I've ever seen one anyways, it's always up in a branch. Ball pythons are not typically doing that. They can climb on things, but their general natural habitat is to be burrowers. I do think that they would probably just defer to mostly being still arboreal, since ball pythons are pretty adaptable, but who knows, right? Well, Garrett might, if he can remember that long ago. But again, a very interesting animal. I'm happy to have found some sort of video footage of them, because they are pretty cool and incredible. I just, again, have so many questions. And then finally, for our last pick would be the...
Wake up! Seems you're starting to realize the truth. You must finish what we started.
Finally, for our last pick would be the angry ball. It is a mixture of the Angolan python with the ball python. And this one here I could find a video of, and a baby. First, let's show you the baby here. I gotta say, honestly, at first glance anyways, they look like ball pythons. I can kind of see the eyes here. They look a little golden and such. And with the adults, they seem definitely bigger. And again, looking at that eye, the eyes look a little different. Again, a pretty old video, 6 years old. This one's living up to that name of being angry. The pattern is really cool, and what's even more interesting about this is that this is one of the only ones I could find that is actually a three-way hybrid. This is the most Frankenstein of all the Frankenstein snakes. It is 50% Angolan python, 25% blood python, and 25% ball python. I I don't know what to say. Honestly, before researching this video, I knew that hybrids existed. I thought that it was 2 snake species put together. I didn't know that you could do 3. It is very, very interesting to learn about this sort of stuff. This one actually has some decent information here at this WordPress site here, the Snake Boss vlog on the super angry ball python. It was from a decade ago. This is probably the most detailed information outside of just pictures. But if you see here the colors, especially up close, they have this hint of rusty red again. You kind of see it right there. Kind of reminds me of those Pompeii type colors. Very, very beautiful. I don't know if these have shed for him yet. You know there's some morphs, clearly. I don't know why. The first thing I thought of was like a king snake or a coral snake or something crazy like that. It does obviously not 100% that, but that kind of color differential kind of makes me think like, warning, stay away because it might be venomous, but not. It's a pretty good close-up of their eyes. You can definitely see some difference in there. Again, it is fascinating to me that something like this can exist that wouldn't if it weren't for human beings. So what are my final thoughts on hybrids? How do I feel about them? I don't. Yeah, that's my answer. I don't. I don't really feel one way or the other. I get the interest. I'm fascinated by them because I love to learn. Forgive me, I'm just staring at this thing. It's just catching my eye and commanding my attention like I was possessed to talk about these things. But I personally don't want to do them, and I don't really see that changing. I would say that I think that people should make their own choice. I would caution, however, when doing these things. Some of these are trailblazing combos that have never been created. What does the care look like? What if you mix a green tree python with a ball python? Now you've taken something that spends nearly its entire life on a branch and combined it with a fat-bodied snake. It's gonna still want to climb up on that little branch. Can it now? I have no idea if that's been made. I actually tried to look into that one and I found the Balltic while doing it. Some of this information, again, might not even be 100% accurate. It's very weird and difficult for me to bring a video to you like this, where there is information, but there's just so much vitriol when I'm looking into it as well. But there is still an ethical question. When does it stop? I think a lot of people are really worried about bloodlines and such like that being tampered with. Let's just say someone creates that blood ball that I said I kind of like the most, and then they sell it to somebody who then sells it to somebody, and they don't know anything about ball python, so they decide, hey, I'm gonna breed this too. Now you have something that's 75% ball python and 25% blood python. Well, now it's gonna look a lot more like a ball python, but it might still have some of those crazy patterns. Now you might have people fooled into thinking that that's some sort of new morph of ball python when it's a hybrid. I don't know if the ethical question that I'm posing right now to you is something that we need to worry about with something like genetic testing, but I don't really have any strong opinion. I just have a fascination to learn. And if you want to learn as well, you can check out a lot of our videos right here, or some of our prior spooky Halloween episodes right here. I can't upload this.
You have to end this.
But people don't talk about this. People are gonna hate me.
People need to learn to have dialogue with those that they don't necessarily agree with. If one can't handle to have their beliefs challenged, then maybe their beliefs aren't as solid as they once thought. These animals exist. People are going to like them, and maybe they're going to hate them. But what they need to do is learn to respect other people's opinions. You finally understand.